Hi guys, today is the 19th of August and it's 21 minutes past 12 in the morning over here in the UK. I'm going to make this quick video pointing out the date of August the 31st, or where I think the date of August the 31st may appear. The sound is on, so when I play it you'll hear the sound, and if you're uncomfortable with that, just turn it off. So here we go. So the video begins, and the first thing that I want to point out, maybe I should just let that play a little bit more. First thing I want to point out is the 666 barcode on the head. Now I've done a little breakdown of it, and I'm just going to draw that on screen. In fact, let me draw it in a different pen, not a highlighter. Okay, let's do it in red. Okay, so you got the 666 there. Now that is a combination of three numbers. The 666 itself could be added together, 6, 12, 18, giving you 1 and 8. These numbers together could interpret as the 31st of August or August 31st, depending on where you're based in the world. That's one breakdown of the potential date of August the 31st. Let's let the video continue. I've also done another breakdown coming from the blocks below the goat's head just here. So again, I'm just going to draw on the screen. What we have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks which have letters on them. 3 of those blocks don't have letters on them, and 1 of those blocks has punctuation on it. So if you take those numbers again, you've got 8 blocks with letters, 3 blocks without letters, and 1 block with punctuation. Again, a possible interpretation for the date or the numbers 8, 3, and 1 in this interpretation. I'm looking at that as a date for August 31st. Let's go continue on. Now I'm just going to push the video forward a little bit. Now I've pointed this out before in other videos, but I'll point it out again in this video. Just over here, whoops, get rid of that. Just over here on the chalkboard, you've got the missile / penis, ejaculating, urinating. Putting those interpretations aside, I'm just looking at the representation of what could be an A, a 1, and number 3. Again, putting those together, you could have A13, potentially August 13th. However, if you reverse that, you have 31A, which could be 31st of August. So that's another interpretation for that exact same date. Let's come back, move forward a little bit more. Just let the video play a little bit. So in this scene, again, it's something I've pointed out before, but with the benefit of my phone and my pen, I can highlight the 8th character, which is hidden in the background. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oops. Let's bring that back out 1 second, sorry. Or zoom in, yep. Okay, back to that. 5, 6, don't keep doing this to me. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the girl represents the 13th character. Now I think that the 13th character and the 8th character are significant. One being the only one in color, being the only representation of a girl, and the other one being hidden in the background, unlike the others, which are more in the foreground, less hidden. This one you could say is hidden as well, but not as hidden as the 8th character. So if you're putting those numbers together, 8 and 13, again, backwards, you could have 318, which could be the 31st of August or August 31st. Let's roll on with the apple. Let's skip forward a little bit. So as the apple rolls across the ground, there is a volcano on the side of the apple. I'll address that a little bit later in the video. But right here, we again appear to have the interpretation for 8, 3, and 1. You've got 2 seeds on one side, 1 seed on the other side. Putting those together, you get the number 3. You've got 1 pocket without a seed, so you've got number 1. And right in the middle, where the roots join and the shadow is cast, you have the number 8. Again, putting those numbers together, 318, 31st of August. So let's come out again, move a bit further down the video. Just going to skip a lot of this. So right here in the scene with Osama bin Laden, who I'm also going to talk about in relation to the Taliban and the date of August 31st, we appear to have the number, let's zoom in, 3 and 1 just up here in the clouds. And I wonder, okay, so August 31st potentially up in the clouds over there as I drew. I don't see the interpretation for the 8 or the August per se, but the number 31 or the number 13 is right up there in the clouds. So I've just pointed that out, and I'll just circle it for ease. 3 and 1 within that circle. So I think that's as far as I'm going to go in the video in terms of talking about the numbers 8, 3, and 1. I'll just see if there's any more that I wanted to point out. No. So back to the beginning of the video just there. And now the potential things that could be happening on August 31st. So beginning with the Osama bin Laden and the potential for the number 31 being up in the clouds above him. Obviously Osama bin Laden was connected with the Taliban and various other what they call terrorist organizations, for example Al-Qaeda, potentially ISIS. Either way, the deadline for evacuation for US troops and interpreters, Afghani interpreters from the country of Afghanistan is August the 31st, as you can see on the screen just there. That's one potential important date that coincides with the dates I'm finding in the iPad Go 2 video. Again, in the video around the time where we see the Osama bin Laden figure and the number 31, we also see what appears to be a crescent moon in the background. This would be normally I think it's a waxing crescent moon facing this way. However, in this video we know that they reverse things and, you know, all sorts of other stuff that they do, flip things upside down and hide things in the video, code things. On August 31st, we will have a crescent moon. It'll be a waning crescent moon. So if you was to just look at the iPad Go 2 video and compare it directly with the shape of the waning crescent moon, you may be led to believe that that's irrelevant because it's facing the wrong way. However, I see it as relevant, and I do think that the waning crescent could be what we see here, or saw there, rather. Let me move this over here, it's just annoying. So I'll just let that play again. My apologies, as I said. This is a little bit of a different way to approach making these videos. I won't be editing it too much, so you'll probably be getting all of these little mistakes that I'm making with my pen, clicking on wrong things and stuff like that. But again, you've got potential crescent moon, waning or waxing. In my opinion, it could resemble the waning crescent moon, just reversed. and then you've got the number 31 up here. We're on August 31st. We will be having that type of moon in the sky, as well as the deadline to get people out of Afghanistan, which obviously again connected to Osama bin Laden. We can see these figures in the background could represent a number of what they call terrorist organizations. So it seems to me that that could be a potential connection, which is why I'm pointing it out. Now, the next issue that I wanted to talk about within this video is some of the events that may take place. From the very beginning of the video, we're shown a potential interpretation for a blackout. We see the torchlight hovering over the box where the goat pops out. We see the emergency lights come on, and there is no other lighting source. So it appears that there could be some sort of blackout. As the video goes on and we go inside the classroom, we are shown the George Bush character who begins to tap dance, and the tap dancing sound could be strokes on a keyboard representing a cyber attack. Again, what we have is essentially starlight with everything else in darkness, again suggesting a potential blackout. The star rolls across the eastern side of the United States, suggesting that may be where the focus of the blackout is, on the east coast of the United States. Again, as the video goes on, we're shown another representation of a blackout or the lights going out in this scene. Emergency lighting comes on, you see the red highlighting in the background, and as the apple is dropped and rolls across the ground, it's followed by torchlight, everything else in darkness. So again, showing you that potential interpretation for a blackout. If we pop outside the classroom, we see the lights go out in the tower that's on fire, and again could be a possible representation of a blackout. And one more as we've gone past it, I think. As we come into the next scene, this scene here, we see the starlight light up and the light go out on the Statue of Liberty, again potentially suggesting a blackout. Now, in association, or rather in connection with that potential type of event, we have experts saying cyber attacks likely to result in blackouts in the United States. It goes on to describe an event in 2015 where Russia was blamed for shutting off the power to about half the homes in Ivano-Frankivsk. Not going to attempt it. Apologies for anyone who's from Ukraine or understands Ukrainian, and I've just butchered that completely. But basically, in a region of the Ukraine, power was shut off to about half the homes from a cyber attack, which was blamed on Russia. We then have experts analyzing whether the same thing could happen in the United States, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of key words in these two paragraphs that I have on screen right now. So if I just quickly go to highlighter there, near future power grid within the next 5 years. So it appears that cyber experts agree that at some point in the near future, cyber criminals based in other countries could shut off at least some portions of the US power grid, if not the entire grid. Now obviously that may not affect states like Maine or Texas, which I believe have their own power grids, but certainly the east coast of the United States seems to be a heavy target in association with a cyber attack, which could lead to a blackout. And as pointed out in the iPad Go 2 video, the reference to blackout is prevalent and all over the place. Again, even in this very scene here, though there are many interpretations that you can take from this video, one of the interpretations is that this particular hole right here with the line coming off is representative of a power symbol. If you look at your remotes, for example, TV remote, you'll be able to see the power symbol, and it looks very much like that. And again, what we have in this scene is emergency lighting, torchlight, and everything else in darkness, suggesting some sort of blackout. Again, it may not be widespread, but that's what the interpretation is saying. So I'm just presenting that as I see it. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the scene where the girl in the classroom drops the apple. Just let that play for a second. So on the apple, talked about in, let me just let that go off, yep. Talked about in many different videos how there appears to be a volcano on the side of the apple just here. Color that in. Very bad. Never mind. And what we appear to then have is lava spewing from the volcano, as well as ash, molten rock, lava, gases spewing up from the volcano. Now, in my interpretation, this apple represents an island, and on that island is a volcano. Next to the island is a shape which is like a boot. Now, many of you will know that Italy is shaped like a boot. I'll just write that on there. And next to the main landmass of Italy is an island, and on that island is a volcano by the name of Mount Etna. Mount Etna has erupted many times in the past, and reports that I've been reading recently suggest that Mount Etna has grown by 100 feet in the last 6 months. This has been caused by over 50 eruptions. Now, what's very interesting to me is that the growth on the volcano is focused on the southeastern crater, as you can see just there. Why that's significant is because the southeastern flank of Mount Etna is unstable. So if you pile on 100 feet worth of material, molten lava, onto a flank that's already unstable, the likelihood of that is it would collapse, particularly if another major eruption occurred. That seems to be what the IPEC Goat 2 video is suggesting. When the apple splits in half, it splits just along the line right here, where there appears to be a rise on the side of the volcano. Let me just actually draw it on, because it keeps bringing up the little play button. So you can see just here, this is where the apple splits, and we appear to have a piece of landmass separated from the main body of the volcano. I'll let that play. So you see it splits there, and in the middle we get this flower, lotus flower, symbolizing rebirth, regeneration, potentially destruction, coming up out of the middle of it. In connection with that, we also have this white line on the floor, which appears to represent a tsunami, which would then go on, looks like it moves in the direction of the main land mass of Italy. So perhaps what we're suggesting here is that the eruption of Mount Etna in the near future, perhaps as early as August 31st this year, could cause the southeastern flank, which has grown by 100 feet in the last 6 months on an already unstable flank, to collapse into the ocean that surrounds it, the Mediterranean, generating a tsunami which moves in all directions but focuses its ferocity on the country of Italy. How bad it would be will depend on how much mass, land mass from the volcano is deposited into the ocean, at what speed it's deposited. It could very well be that we have a 12-foot surge or more than that driving towards the country of Italy. So with all of the connections to 831 that I've pointed out throughout this video, the connections that may have to August the 31st, with the deadline for getting the Afghanistan troops and the Afghanistan interpreters, anyone who's helped the US Army out of the country, as well as having we have another crescent here, but in the later part of the video, as well as having the crescent moon and the connection to what we have, Osama bin Laden, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, what have you. There may be a strong connection for things taking place on that date, alongside the potential for events escalating in Afghanistan or perhaps closer to the United States. You have the interpretation for the blackout, which again seems to be connected with the same date, August 31st, as well as the potential for a volcanic eruption and tsunami in the Mediterranean. At least that's one area. There could be multiple areas, but it appears that that is the focus that I'm getting from the video that I'm doing today. Italy, with Mount Etna, the unstable southeastern flank, the collapse of that flank, perhaps during an eruption or an earthquake, and then the tsunami that follows. More interpretations for August the 31st, or for at least the numbers 3 and 1, come from the plane bombing scene just here. There we go. So even in this scene here, we may have another connection with at least the numbers 3 and 1, where we have the 3 planes, and as they fly off, one plane fires the missile, giving us the reference to the number 1. So 3 and 1 may again connect us to August 31st or the 31st of another month. However, as you guys know, one of the most popular videos on my channel is the reversal of the iPad Goat 2 video in the beginning scene with George Bush, when he says, "Shame on you." I'll just... Not shame on, but shame on you. And how that echoes 3 times. When played backwards, what we hear is the word August. August, 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 August. And you guys can check that out on my channel if you like to, and listen to it for yourself. It's already been viewed and heard thousands of times. And then when you look at the other interpretations, the potential for A13 or A31 up there, potentially giving us August 31st, the hidden 8th character in the background of this scene over here, and the 13th child giving us A13 again, or A31, sorry, 831 or 813. Again, that could give us a reference to August as in the 8th month, and then 31, 13th has passed, so 31 is the focus. Again, you move on, you see the apple, you see the 8 in the middle, you see the 3 seeds, you see the 1 space that doesn't have a seed. Again, you've got the 831 reference. It just seems that August 31st of whatever year is significant in connection with this video. And obviously, again, with the news of the volcano growing on the unstable side, the news with the war in Afghanistan and the withdrawal of the troops and how that's encouraged the Taliban, we do appear to have some connections leading up towards that date. So be watchful. Potential blackout scenario, potential volcanic eruption or volcanic collapse scenario, potential tsunami scenario. In the scene with Osama bin Laden, as he's approaching this shape that we see here, I've often interpreted it as the Strait of Hormuz. However, Afghanistan is a landlocked country, so it would have to be in association with Iran. If it's not in association with Iran and it's actually telling us something else, I've pointed this out before in another video, but I'll point it out again in this one. We have what could be the approach into the Gulf of Mexico being depicted here. So I've just circled the little iceberg that's here and drawn a little S shape along the coastline of the land. Keep that in mind, take a little picture of it in your mind, and I'll quickly go to Cuba to show you where I think that little iceberg is depicted, which is right here, just along the landmass that forms an S. So it very well could be that what we're actually seeing, and this is upside down, flipped around, is the approach of some sort of force, whether that's, you know, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, some other military force, approaching what would be coming in this way. Oops, got to draw on the screen again. Coming in this way would be crossing between Cuba and some part of Mexico. I can't remember, my apologies. Coming into the Gulf of Mexico. So that is the end of my video. You guys be watchful on August 31st. Blackout scenario, tsunami scenario, volcanic collapse scenario, potential for hostile forces moving into the Gulf of Mexico, approaching the United States, and this could be after a cyber attack which causes the blackout scenario, which I already mentioned. Be watchful, be careful, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.